Animal sounds that convince me nature is just one big simulation. Turns out geckos don't flex a British accent while talking about insurance, instead they sound like Satan throwing a temper tantrum after abusing helium. That gecko was a baby, so either he was born with an existential crisis or he found his owner has Allstate. Quick quiz, does the caracal sound like A, a normal cat, B, a cracked out Tweety, or C, frogs croaking? The answer is actually D, a laser powered assault weapon. It doesn't get better when they hit puberty either. Emus are 6-foot bush turkeys that are basically the dinosaurs of Down Under. That was not a joke, they sound Jurassic. And cause we have time, cassowaries. Animals that look dangerous but surprisingly aren't. I will never disagree that the Japanese spider crab is one of the most blatant FUs nature ever gave us. But Neptune's paralysis demon is actually non-aggressive towards humans. With a 12-foot leg span and 40 pounds of nightmare fuel, they don't even swim, they just walk around the ocean floor scrounging and living like the rest of us. Staying in the ocean, a frilled shark looks like Lucifer's fleshlight, and at 7 feet they're longer than most NBA players. But the frilled shark isn't aggressive and they rarely come into contact with people, and when they do, they really just don't care. Perfectly harmless except to your mental health, because every time it yawns a therapist retires early. This spiky boy is an intimidating Australian dinosaur that strikes fear into the hearts of anyone that sees it. I mean, he probably would, if he wasn't 6 inches long. They also have a false head meant to confuse predators whenever pressure comes. Next we have the, how the fuck did he get here? Next we have the spider with the name I refuse to say out loud because fragile masculinity won't let me. Father lengthy limbs has never been known to attack a human, and they're virtually harmless because their fangs are too short to pierce human flesh. They're more afraid of you hitting them with a newspaper than you should be of them putting you on one. Animals that I believe deserve more recognition by all of society. At number 1 we got the sun bear. He spends his day eating honey and climbing trees like a live action Winnie the Pooh. I don't know what's going on in his little head, but he's having a good time. Next we have the pangolin, if for no other reason but the vibes of this picture. They're the most trafficked non-human mammal in the world and they must be protected at all costs, capitalism be damned. There is a disturbing lack of aardvark content on this page, and that's going to change because these earth pigs deserve all the love. They're also related to my favorite animal, so I have no choice but to aggressively stand them. There's only one aardvark I have beef with. Next are pygmy goats, because if there's one person in the world that doesn't know they exist, that's one person too many. Next is the long-eared jerboa that is definitely 100% not a Pokemon. If looks could kill, we'd be immortal in its presence. The banded piglet squid because it's an adorable beacon in an ocean full of nonsense. The Patagonia mara that is basically the capybara's smaller, less clouded cousin, but we are going to change that. The klipspringer because it eats itself over cliffs, avoids leopards, all while wearing high heels, and damn it, that's talent. The tree kangaroo because it looks like a plush toy. Comment your favorite animal, highest comment gets a video. Animals that look dangerous but surprisingly aren't. The whip scorpion looks like it crawled out of a Stephen King wet dream, but they don't bite and they don't produce venom. Even though they look like aliens, they're actually massive pushovers. They're perfectly harmless and the only damage they can do is to the property value of your house. Piranha got hoed by the media, but they're virtually zero threat to people. They're scavengers, meaning if they're eating something, it's probably already dead. Attacks are extremely rare, and most of the time you could literally be sitting in the middle of a feeding frenzy and not get touched. I already know exactly what you're gonna say, but what happened with Steve Irwin was actually a freak accident because stingray are afraid of people, they're shy and they'd rather run away. Unless you confuse them for a placemat and step on them, they will not attack you first, and even if they do, it's not a death sentence. Stingray venom isn't deadly, it's actually super treatable. What happened to Steve Irwin was maliciously bad luck because not only did he get attacked, he got stung in the worst possible spot, right in the heart. But if he was alive, he'd want you to know they're not a threat. The Black Widow has a pretty trash reputation. People don't really like the spiders either, but they rarely bite. A study showed that even after getting poked several times, the spider still didn't attack. It takes a lot to get them to attack, and even if they do, the bites are rarely fatal. I promise you they're not that bad. Here are some facts about the ocean you may or may not believe, you're just gonna have to trust me. What early sailors thought were mermaids actually turned out to be a group of manatees that they described as not as beautiful as painted. But if you look at their skeleton, you can kinda see how they made that mistake. I mean, did you know manatees have hands? I did. Whales and dolphins sleep by turning off half their brain at a time, and they also sleep like this. And since whales have to remind themselves to breathe, they hold their breath for their entire nap. The Marianas Trench is so deep that if you put Mount Everest at the bottom, the top of the mountain would still be a mile away from the surface. There's actually rivers and lakes in the ocean. This is because seawater seeps up through the thick layer of salt, dissolving the salt layer, causing it to collapse and forming a depression that I guess you can call an underwater lake. There's actually a lake in the Gulf of Mexico that instantly kills anybody that swims in it because it contains toxic amounts of methane and hydrogen sulfide. Flying fish can launch themselves at 35 miles per hour and they can glide for 650 feet, which is almost 2 football fields. The fastest thing in the ocean is a sailfish because it can swim almost as fast as a motivated cheetah can run. Most of the oxygen you're breathing right now didn't come from trees, it came from the billions of phytoplankton in the ocean. Seahorse facts, but they slowly get more and more disturbing. You probably know that the male seahorse is the one that gets pregnant and gives birth, but did you know he'll eat any of his children that don't leave immediately after being born? Doesn't even wait till they're 18, if they're around after a few hours, he'll cannibalize them. In fact, you want to know how little he cares about his kids? Not only does he play no role in his kid's life other than giving it to them, he can get pregnant 12 hours after giving birth. Man starts a new family before raising the one he has. The seahorse will give birth to up to 1,000 kids, only 2 will live a meaningful life, the rest will be in tiny coffins in a couple weeks. Seahorse couples mate for life, which is wholesome, must be nice. But if one of them dies, the other won't bother looking for another mate, they'll just give up on life. Some widow seahorses will even commit unalive by refusing to eat, basically murking themselves out of sadness. They're one of the deadliest predators in the ocean, and yes, I'm being serious. They hunt by sneaking up on prey and snatching their souls before they can even realize it. The seahorse has a hunting success rate of 90%. Lions have a 30% success rate and wolves are 14%, but somehow seahorses are S tier in taking lives. They don't have a stomach, and high metabolism means they can eat up to 3,000 shrimp a day. They look innocent, but they go on the nastiest kill streaks in the entire ocean. Here's an animal friendship that you didn't know you needed in life. Coyote and the Badger. Sounds like a sitcom title. These two will actually form an alliance to hunt together. Coyotes and badgers love eating the ground squirrel, but squirrels can disappear in tunnels away from the coyote who can't dig fast enough to catch them. So coyotes and badgers will work together because like any great team, they cover each other's weaknesses. Badgers can dig faster than a man with a shovel, and they can even burrow through asphalt parking lots in 2 minutes. These chonky excavators can tunnel fast enough to flush any ground squirrels out of their burrow. If the squirrels try to hightail it on land, the coyote will run their furry pockets. Coyotes and badgers are normally ops to each other, but they team up because their hunting success rate increases by 30% when they work together. And they end up sharing whatever they catch. Everyone wins, except for the squirrels, they get double-fisted. Coyotes and badgers prove friendship is a beautiful thing, and if you're low on friends, you can make new ones with the live stream app Big O Live. For legal reasons, if you're under the age of 18 or in a relationship, do not download, because if your girl catches you watching a talent on that app, I am not responsible for the cost of your funeral. If you somehow made it to the end of this video, please enjoy this coyote pup and a baby badger, because why not? Animals whose voices convince me nature is one big practical joke. I am willing to bet any amount of money, under $3, that you thought the bird that represents the United States of America has a shrieking majestic call at the beginning of every Western movie. What they really sound like is a seagull with laryngitis choking on a Popeyes biscuit. You know, it actually makes sense they represent America. They're intimidating until they open their mouth and you realize they're a mess inside. Next is the fairy penguin, the smallest penguin in the world at a foot tall and 3 pounds. But if you think this flipper Tweety sounds like a normal bird, you're giving nature way too much credit. I don't care how cute you think they are, hearing that at 3 AM would bring the hood out of Buddha. Jurassic Park fans, remember these guys? The velociraptor sounds were actually turtles having sex, so next time you rewatch it, just know you're getting the audio file of Franklin the Turtle's hub debut.
Damn, son.
Here are some animals that look dangerous but surprisingly aren't. The harpy eagle looks like a flying demon that feeds on the souls of the innocent, but they're non-aggressive and friendly towards humans. Unlike most large raptors, the harpy will allow people to walk up to them while they're sitting on a perch. They're actually so unbothered by people that it makes them an easy target for hunters, which is why we can't have nice things. They won't take your soul even if you probably deserve it. At over 200 pounds, the mountain lion is a steroid with whiskers. But the same animal that'll step to bears and moose actually wants zero smoke with people, and they don't need a pandemic to social distance. Look at this video and tell me I'm wrong. Cougars will actually run away at the sound of human voices, proving that cougars aren't a threat unless it's happy hour. This snake may look venomous, but the milk snake is 100% harmless. When threatened, they would much rather run away. They only look dangerous because they wear the same gang colors as a coral snake, which actually will put you on a t-shirt. Next is the paralysis demon with frequent flyer miles, the Andean condor. As a scavenger with a weak beak and even weaker claws, they feed on the dead because they want no smoke with the living. No matter how ugly this flying testicle gets, it'll never attack a human. They're just out here minding their own business.
But you're in a one-on-one fight with any animal on Earth. You get to choose any animal on the...
Okay, my time to shine. I guarantee you no one's gonna have a better answer than this one. So I have to one-on-one an animal. The bigger the animal is, the more money I get if I win. Now, you might be wondering, out of all the animals I've said could turn me into a hashtag, what would I choose? Well, believe it or not, I'm going for the biggest one of all. Taking on a blue whale, don't roll your eyes, I can explain. The female blue whale can weigh 300,000 pounds and grow to 82 feet long, but she has one fatal weakness. Blue whales have really tiny throats, which is why they eat the smallest things in the sea, krill. As big as they are, a blue whale literally can't swallow anything larger than a grapefruit. All I would have to do is let the blue whale put me in her mouth and make her gag, make her choke, and maybe even touch the little dangly thing at the back of her throat. I could use my body to choke her like a Popeyes biscuit and claim my win. And since blue whales have baleen instead of teeth, I don't have to worry about getting ripped apart on the way out. The whale's out of commission, I win, and if I earn $1 for every pound the whale weighs, I could hopefully pay off my student loans. And if you would like to help me with said loans, make sure you download the personal fitness app in my bio to customize your own at-home workouts. Otherwise, you can call her a hail because I'm taking the W. Here are some facts you didn't know about the friendliest animal in the world. This roid rodent is a capybara and is a close relative of the guinea pig and a distant cousin of the chinchilla. They're natural extroverts that can hang out in groups of up to 100 led by an alpha male. So chill that a group of capybaras is called a meditation. Capybara can do the dash at 22 miles per hour, and for reference, Usain Bolt's top speed was about 27. They're great swimmers and they're so comfortable in water they've been known to fall asleep while floating. They have webbed feet that helps them Phelps their way out of trouble. And fun fact, they only make love in the water. They some big boys that can weigh up to 200 pounds and are the largest rodents on Earth. They're basically guinea pigs on juice. They eat their own poop so they can get the most out of their fiber diet by digesting it twice. The female is pregnant for 4 to 5 months and she'll give birth to about 4 pups, and I'm only telling you that because I want an excuse to show you this picture. Also, if a female doesn't want to hook up with a male, she'll hide by submerging herself in the water until he gets the hint. They've also been known to go into a trance if you rub their belly, and because you think I'm lying, watch this. The friendliest animals in the world, nobody knows why, but we can all agree the vibes are immaculate. A lot of people say Australia is the devil's jungle gym, but when you think about it, Africa's way worse. It's just normalized. Because if I told you there's an 18-foot camel leopard that could punt your head to another area code, you'd probably freak out. Until you realize I'm talking about a giraffe. And if I tell you there's a 9-foot dinosaur that weighs as much as a prime shack that could bicycle kick a lion to the next world, you'd be shook. Until I remind you that ostriches are a thing. Yes, Australia has emus, but ostriches are more disrespectful. But Australia doesn't have a 3,000-pound unicorn with road rage that literally chooses murder in every possible situation. Also, the land down under doesn't have an animal that's so homicidal, its honest-to-God nickname is Black Death and Widowmaker. They also don't have an animal that's been known to get drunk, kidnap, and murder human children, but you want to slander Australia for spiders. Interesting. Well, I would rather spend a day in a room with 50 spiders than 30 seconds with a chimp. Because at least after the spiders, I can use iPhone Face ID. Not to mention the gang violence that comes in the forms of lions, hyenas, and wild dogs, the last two which will eat their prey's guts while they're still alive. And how the hell would you describe this to someone who's never seen it before? Moral of the story, Australia might be crazy, but they'll never have to deal with this. Things animals do that should honestly be against the law. The naked mole rat queen is the only female allowed to get laid in her kingdom, and she'll assault any females that show any signs of sexual activity. But the sus part is that she'll mate with a few of her sons to keep the population as inbred as possible. She'll even release a chemical that prevents the other mole rats from reaching puberty just so she can have her sons all to herself. Jail. Koalas can't eat eucalyptus without a special gut bacteria to help them digest it. The only way for the joey to get it is by nuzzling up to the mother's 69-no wrapper and eating the green paste that comes out. For a month, this potty jockey will eat his mother's backdoor fudge, and at this moment, koalas weren't cute to me anymore. Hippos will projectile launch their backdoor business by twirling their tail like a propeller. It goes both ways because if Glory is interested, she'll return the favor by dropping a deuce on Motomoto's head. I don't kink shame, but I draw the line right there. Jail. And somehow we get to sea otters again. If he can't find a female, he'll settle for anything roughly the same size, and that's usually a baby seal. Because there's no Chris Hansen for seals, he'll force himself on the underage pup while biting its face. If the baby seal dies, his furry psychopath will mate with the dead body for up to a week like the sex-crazed sea weasel he is. Jail, life sentence, no. This is why chihuahuas are aggressive, and it's actually our fault. First of all, it's common in nature for smaller animals to use overt aggressiveness and irrational confidence as a defense, and the best example is the honey badger. This behavior is also seen in desert gobies going after larger males, finches going after eagles and crows, and cougars going after bears. It's possible smaller dogs have a built-in Napoleon complex that makes them act out in fear, which makes sense because when they're that small, basically everything's a threat. The problem is we enable dogs like chihuahuas to act like the spawn of Satan. Because if a pit bull or a Rottweiler acted like that, they would get put down because they're capable of much more damage. Which is how aggressiveness got bred out of most large dog breeds. Small dogs like chihuahuas get away with this because as hellish as they are, we never have to worry about them putting their owner on a newspaper. Also, most people are really protective of small dogs, and because they're so sheltered, they end up finding everything scary because they weren't introduced to it, which makes them select violence. Because most of the time when a chihuahua is being an op, it's doing it out of fear. On top of that, a lot of owners think their chihuahua being a menace to society is cute and they won't correct the behavior, and sometimes they even encourage it. Long story short, chihuahuas have little man syndrome, they have short person privilege, and it's all your fault.